The Order is gone. I was betrayed by the one I trusted most. I will not be imprisoned again.
I hear you've been busy making yourself the Empire's most wanted.
Jedi. Remind our friend here why his kind are supposed to be dead.
Here we go.
After all we've done, the Empire has only grown stronger.
Thanks, Bode. Part of the job, Kestis.
The Jedi is a threat.
Not now that we have this.
As long as we fight. Hope survives.
Tell me, Cal Kestis, why lead when they won't follow? Why fight when you can't win? What is your next move, Jedi?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my Star Wars Jedi Survivor trailer video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs here. I'll explain what's going on, where this fits in the timeline. And I know a lot of people have asked about Cal Kestis showing up in live action like during the events of The Mandalorian. I'll explain what's going on with that. There have been a couple Easter eggs for things from the Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor game already, but I'll talk about what he was doing during the events of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, during the Star Wars Andor series, the original trilogy, and during the events of the Mandalorian series. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're going to get a new trailer for The Mandalorian Season 3 really soon as well, too, before the end of the year, and The Mandalorian Season 3 episodes will come at the beginning of March. A lot of Cal Kestis' story later in the timeline also overlaps with Ahsoka's timeline as well, so I'll explain her too later in the video. But the new trailers they release reveal a bunch more about the actual story of the game, more of the new changes that they made. It's meant to take place 5 years after the events of Fallen Order, so he's about 23 during the events of this game. It takes place the exact same year that the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes took place. So like while Obi-Wan Kenobi is saving young Leia Organa from the Fortress Inquisitorius, the Inquisitors, Darth Vader, breaking that bottom area there, just like Cal Kestis did, he's busy running around in the Outer Rim in another part of the galaxy during those events. I know there's always a lot of questions about who knew what, who knew where everybody was during different parts of the timeline, but the idea is that the main galaxy of Star Wars is a vast place. The Mandalorian, for example, barely knew about Jedi characters at all. When he first took up the mission to take Grogu back to his people, quote-unquote, to the other Jedi looking for Luke Skywalker, even though he didn't realize it was Luke Skywalker he was looking for, he referred to them as ancient sorcerers. That's how little he knew about the Jedi. During the trailer, we get more clues about that other Jedi Force-sensitive character that he finds in the Bacta tank that looks like he's been stuck there for years. He finds another Jedi who survived Order 66. It also seems like he's meant to be the same Jedi that he's fighting with the red lightsaber later in the trailer. There's this whole idea that he's still trying to resuscitate the Jedi Order, going around finding other Force-sensitive people and helping people along the way. One of the people that the holocron leads him to is this person here. But it sounds like it's one of those situations where he rescues this Force-sensitive person who's really bitter about what happened with Order 66, the Emperor, Darth Vader, turning to the dark side. He says, "I will not be imprisoned again," and he sounds really dark. So it sounds like they might come to blows because of their differing ideas about what they should actually do about the Empire moving forward. Because you also see this new character talking to the mercenaries that Cal Kestis was fighting in the other part of the trailer. When they refer to the Jedi giving them problems, so to speak, like they're going to continue to fight each other throughout the game, he holds up the device and says, "Not as long as we have this." It seems like a tracking device that helps him clock Cal Kestis around the galaxy. Cere Junda comes back. It looks like she's been taking care of a new Jedi library, or the remnants of the old one. It meant to look just like the old Jedi library. We see him fighting a Wampa, not on an ice planet, inside an Imperial base, fighting similar types of Dark Trooper robots that we saw on the Mandalorian series much later in the timeline. I'm assuming these Dark Trooper robots are different from the ones that Moff Gideon created, because I think his were supposed to build upon years of Imperial engineering and research. Like they were way more hardcore than the ones that Cal Kestis was fighting in this scene here. We see him stopping the blaster shots in midair like Kylo Ren. The other big change too is there's another big Kylo Ren Easter egg. He has a cross-hilt lightsaber just like Kylo Ren did, except his doesn't look all janky like Kylo Ren's did. The actual synopsis for the story just reads, during Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Cal Kestis is pushed further to the outer rim of the galaxy by the Empire, Darth Vader, the Emperor, the Inquisitors. The game picks up 5 years after Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Notice the new scars on his face, like he's got a bunch of extra city miles on him. He crashes their spaceship. During the events of the game, they say Cal Kestis considers himself a Jedi Knight, like he's a Padawan no longer. So at some point during those 5 years, he dubbed himself Jedi, or Cere Junda did. They also say that during that 5-year time jump, he's had many subsequent run-ins with the Imperials, Inquisitors since the end of Jedi Fallen Order. He's still got BD-1. There was another BD-1 droid talk about Easter eggs for Fallen Order during the live-action series during Book of Boba Fett much later in the timeline, because that's taking place around the same time that The Mandalorian is taking place. They've already done the Inquisitors in live action, and like I said, this game in particular takes place at the exact same time that the Obi-Wan Kenobi episodes are taking place. You have to picture Darth Vader using the Inquisitors to go after Cal Kestis. In much to the Grand Inquisitor's chagrin, all of his attention shifts to this Obi-Wan Kenobi person. You just have to picture Darth Vader being like, okay, we have history. I need to focus on Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. I've been obsessed with him for the past 10 years, since Revenge of the Sith. He would definitely be way more obsessed with Obi-Wan Kenobi than he would be with Cal Kestis. Like, he'd be pissed off about what happened at the end of Jedi Fallen Order, but he's been way more pissed off about what happened with Obi-Wan Kenobi and his scarring on Mustafar. Remember, early in the series when he almost caught him again, he said he was going to visit the same torture on him that he himself suffered during Revenge of the Sith. Meaning he planned on burning Obi-Wan Kenobi, like literally scarring him and cutting his limbs off. The synopsis goes on to say that Cal will join forces with new allies who aid him on his quest. One of the first new characters we see in the trailers is named Bodhi Akuna, who's a mercenary. Cere Junda obviously still part of the game. He saved her at the end of Fallen Order. That's why she's still alive. Then we have a couple new antagonists, like we have this new Jedi character that he rescues who seems like he falls to darkness, and this other creepy-looking senator on Coruscant who seems like he's after him. Even though that looks kind of like the Grand Inquisitor, he's not meant to be the Grand Inquisitor. He's supposed to be a brand new senator character that they're introducing for the game. But the big idea is at the end of that first game, after he escapes the Fortress Inquisitorius with Cere Junda in the holocron, he tries to use that to start finding other Force-sensitive children around the galaxy and slowly rebuild the Jedi Order. But because this is taking place during the events of Obi-Wan Kenobi, we know a lot about what happens later in the timeline, because we don't see another real Jedi Academy forming until Luke Skywalker creates his during the events of the Mandalorian series. We also found out that the planet that Jedi Academy is on is Ossus, which has a deep history in Star Wars lore. It goes all the way back in the Legends canon. They explained that that was the main planet that the Jedi Order moved to, the more modern Jedi Order, when it formed after they left Tython, which was the other planet they visited in the Mandalorian series where Grogu sent out the beacon in the Force to basically anybody that could hear it. He was just lucky that Luke Skywalker was the first person to respond to the beacon, because it wasn't just a beacon to the Jedi, it was a beacon to anyone who was Force sensitive and could detect it. There are also a lot of people that we know about who survived who are just waiting to come back in the live action projects who would have heard it too, both bad and good people. A lot of that stuff they're saving for the future live-action series. Like, we'll get into a lot of Force lore during the Ahsoka series in particular. Those episodes will be coming right after The Mandalorian Season 3, probably sometime around the summer, like late summer maybe. But that'll take place during the same part of the timeline, or at least the main part of the series. There'll probably be some flashbacks during it, because I believe Hayden Christensen is also supposed to show up during that, but it'd either have to be as a Force Ghost, or it would be flashbacks. Also talking about Cal Kestis Ahsoka crossover, because we know more about what was happening with Ahsoka during the Rise of the Empire, this period around the events of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. During this period, Ahsoka was basically hiding out in the Outer Rim, doing the same thing that Obi-Wan Kenobi was doing before the events of his series pick up, just trying to hide his abilities and not stick out. Both of them unsuccessfully, like both of them obviously came back to the Force and started helping people again. What happened with Ahsoka, though, is that Bail Organa, who was also the person who got Obi-Wan Kenobi to start helping out again too, brought Ahsoka into the formal rebellion, and she became the Fulcrum character, and her main job during this period of the Rise of the Empire before the original trilogy was to serve as sort of the point of communications between all the different rebel cells. So she was very active during the events of the original trilogy, but most of what she was doing was on the DL in the Outer Rim, away from the main part of the fighting. And it's probably going to be the same thing for Cal Kestis, and one of the reasons why they're not introducing him already in live action is probably because they don't want to spoil the events of this game or any potential sequel games. But I do think that they will eventually use him in live action. It would be stupid not to. He's actually just a little bit younger than Ahsoka, like he'd be in his early 40s during the events of the Mandalorian series. That's around the same age as Ahsoka. She's like a little bit older than that, but still in her early to mid 40s. Probably one of the other coolest things during the trailer, though, is the dual wielding. Like, dual wielding becomes a big feature in the game, and it doesn't have to be you holding a regular double-bladed lightsaber and breaking it apart. It's just like two completely different lightsabers that you get to use. But if there are any other Easter eggs or questions you have about what's going on during the events of this, or how this crosses over with the other big characters in the Star Wars universe, just write it below in the comments. We just got the Star Wars Bad Batch Season 2 trailer because that series is starting at the beginning of January. I believe the next Mandalorian Season 3 trailer is supposed to come around Christmas time. Nice little Christmas gift that Star Wars is giving to everyone. Of course, I'll do a bunch more videos about that as soon as they release more footage, so leave all your requests in the comments below. Everyone click here for the Mandalorian Season 3 trailer, and click here for my new Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer video and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.